That's 6 straight wins and 4.5 out of the wild card. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, August 29th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And the Detroit Tigers are aware that it is game time. That is a 3-2 victory over the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which makes it 6 consecutive wins. They are on a W6 here to end August. They are 13-3 in the team's last 16 games. Their record on the season is now 68-66. And most importantly, they are now just 4.5 games out from the postseason in the final wild card spot. I'm absolutely fired up. This was a gross, disgusting, ugly victory. Okay, not a ton went super right for the Tigers, especially in the batter's box. The pitching was good yet again. We'll talk about that. Sloppy defense. Couldn't string base runners together enough to push runs over the plate consistently. Left a lot of runs on the board. Should have won this game by 5 or 6 runs. Okay? But they don't ask how, they ask how many. Right? Ugly wins are still wins. And good teams don't win 10-4 every game. Right? You have to learn how to grind out victories. You played a team that is much worse than you at home after another 2-hour, 1.5-hour rain delay. You aren't going to be at your best 162 games out of the year, but you have to learn how to win even when you are not. And that is exactly what this team did in this ball game. So despite the fact that it was messy and gross, this win absolutely rocked. And the best part about this win is that it was after 5 others. That is 6 in a row for your Detroit Tigers. So what went right in this game? Plenty went right. This was still a win at the end of the day. Just, it was, again, not the most visually, pleasing. But we'll talk about that later. This is a win. We start off with what went right on wins. Patience at the plate. This offensive approach made me smile ear to ear. Now, the execution of it was hit or miss, quite literally. No pun intended. I literally mean hit or miss, right? They did get hittable pitches, and again, they should have won by a lot more. However, the patience really showed. That was clearly the game plan with Griffin Canning on the bump. This is a guy who has struggled to throw strikes all season. And the Detroit Tigers offense really hunkered down and did not expand the strike zone very often. Even took some strikes in the zone to just ensure that he was going to continue throwing pitches, right? And let him pitch himself into trouble as often as they could. 6 walks as a team. Great game plan. Kerry Carpenter is so good. So good. He is just a pure hitter. He goes 1 for 2 in this ballgame with 2 walks. He reaches base 3 times, and the one hit he had was an RBI single with a runner on third base. He is truly unbelievable. After this ballgame, he now has a 286 average and a 936 OPS. There's just something about his presence at the plate, his aura, as the kids say, right? There's just something about his presence in the batter's box where you feel really comfortable. And even if he's 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, you know in his fourth at-bat, he still has a chance to do damage. And that's something that I'm not really sure anybody else in this lineup can say. Maybe Riley Greene, but we'll talk about him in a second. Like, this is a guy who is always prepared and able to make something happen in the batter's box. Whether you need a single, whether you need a homer, whether you'll take a walk, it doesn't matter. He'll find a way to make it happen. And I appreciate him greatly. So nice to have him back. Is it a coincidence that when Parker Meadows came back from injury and was recalled and started hitting well, and then Kerry Carpenter came back from injury, that this team has been winning a lot more lately? I don't think so. Obviously, Riley Greene in there too, right? Those three coming back, it's not rocket science, right? Three of your best players during this stretch helping a lot. Jace Jung, I thought, had a really good day at the batter's box, to be honest with you. He goes 0 for, but does get 2 walks in this one. And the 1 walk specifically was just a fantastic, gritty, grinded out at bat. And I think, again, I'm going to preach patience with him a little bit. I think that his mechanics are just so, honestly, weird is the word I'm going to use, and unique, as to where he's probably going to have a decent adjustment period here to get hitting consistently and lifting the ball, especially at the major league level. But his decision-making on what pitches to swing at and what not to swing at is already far beyond his years. Like, I am very impressed with his decision-making every single pitch. He goes in with intent. I've really liked what I've seen so far, even though the results, in the stat sheet are probably going to take a little while longer to kind of get caught up here. But that's why you called him up, to get him acclimated to the major league level. Spencer Torkelson, 2 for 3 with a home run, an absolute tank. He knew it the second he hit it. And yesterday we talked about how Torkelson really struggled at the plate, right? And it's so nice to see him bounce back and not let one rough game at the plate become 2, become 3, become 5, become 10, right? For him to get out of that, put the bat on the ball multiple times, and really was the only hitter that was consistently throughout this entire game. Again, we already mentioned Kerry Carpenter, but like putting the ball in play and really executing on his big swings, obviously even outside of the home run, just really was putting the bat on the ball and was not afraid to go after pitches. I really liked what I saw from him in this ball game. You can see the mechanical adjustment at work as well, like just a more of a contact approach, but still clearly has the power. That's exactly the line everybody has wanted him to walk since they drafted him in 2020, right? So fantastic day at the office, especially, again, in the batter's box for Spencer Torkelson. And then Jake Rogers, going into the season, I had said that what I wanted to see out of Rogers was, the slugging to remain the same. The average can be 200 for all I care. He just needs to walk more. And lately, he's been hitting bombs and drawing walks. And that's like really all I've ever wanted from Jake Rogers at the plate. He's never going to hit for a high average. Like I said, he can hit 190. He can be Adam Dunn for all I care. Now, he's not even close to Adam Dunn. Okay, respect Adam Dunn. Okay, we are here on Locked On Tigers. But my point is, he can hit 190 if he's walking a lot. And when he does hit, he's hitting extra base hits. That's kind of what we saw last year, right? I think he was hitting 210 or maybe even up to 220 at one point last season. It wasn't that low, but I need to see more walks from him. And lately we have been getting that. And obviously you had the homer 2 games ago now to add to that as well. So he's been swinging a hot stick lately too. Let's get to the pitching. Okay. Because we talked about it yesterday, and I'm so glad we talked about it yesterday because it was painfully obvious that was true in today's game or in Wednesday's game as you're listening to this, right? Like we talked about on yesterday's show how the offense has been better, but the pitching is why they've been winning games and getting the great production they have received from players we didn't expect them to get great production from has been the biggest reason for this hot streak. And it's going to go, get swept under the rug and not get talked about because it's pitchers that aren't big and household names, but like it's been so important. And this game was the perfect epitome of that point, right? You score 3 runs off of a pitcher that has the 3rd highest ERA in all of baseball. Like, I think you only scored 2 off of him. Like, not the best day at the office offensively as a team. However, you win the ball game because of Kenta Maeda which we'll talk about in a second, and then some great bullpen work as this team has been receiving for about a month now. Let's go a little bit more in depth on the individuals that pitched in this ball game. We will do that. Gosh, what a win. We will do that right after this. Got to tell tale today about our friends over at Liquid IV. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. That's Liquid IV, everybody. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. I take Liquid IV with me everywhere I go. I'm pumped up after a win, right? I just got back from Comerica Park. I get back to my apartment, and I am parched. I've just been screaming my head off, yelling about the 6-game winning streak Detroit Tigers, and I'm parched. And you know what? I'm a little lightheaded because I've used so much energy screaming. I need some electrolytes. I need some vitamins and some nutrients. Well, I can tear poor and live more with 1 stick and 16 ounces of water that hydrates much better than just water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. It has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink and 8 essential vitamins and nutrients. As always, non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off of your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off of your first order when you shop Better Hydration using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Also got to tell you all about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the best in the business. That ball game I just, went to and was parched after, you know what? I was able to go to that game because of Game Time and their new feature, Game Time Picks, that allows me to get tickets with for my favorite live events, much easier than ever before because they filtered out all the fluff and they only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Great features like seat views, pictures of your seat before you buy, the lowest price guarantee. Well, Game Time will literally credit you 110% of the difference if you find a cheaper ticket in the same section and row, and the Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time, baby. I threw the baby in there. That's not part of the ad. Game Time didn't tell me to say baby. I said it myself. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. Welcome back here, segment 2. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. After you make us your first listen, make Locked On MLB your second listen with Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. He's prepping you for the postseason. You know what Sully probably has got to start thinking about? He's probably going to start thinking about those Detroit Tigers. He's probably going to start thinking about the Cats and where he's going to talk about the Motor City Kitties. Locked On MLB. Again, great show. Paul Sullivan is a fantastic human being, very funny. Available on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So talking about what went right in this ball game, great pitching. Held the Angels to 2 runs here. Mason Englert goes out there and starts off the game. I had to double check to make sure I was right here on my show sheet. 2 innings, no runs, 2 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 walk against. That is the best I have seen Mason Englert's stuff, I think, since, do you all remember, he had probably only been up for a month, maybe not even, maybe it was April. I feel like that series was early May of his Rule 5 year when he came in and we were in Houston. And he came in and pitched like 1 million innings out of the bullpen. And then Matt Vierling, I think that was the game. Matt Vierling hit the walk-off homer to dead center. Well, it wouldn't have been a walk-off because we were in Houston, but extra innings, I think it was, homer. That was, I was like, whoa, Mason Englert, who is this guy? This is the first time I felt like that since then. Like this was good stuff. And I have complained at length about his fastball. I have not seen very much of it to make me believe that it's a major league pitch. That being said, the other stuff that he offered in this ballgame was sharp and it was stellar. I thought the slider was great. And I have said since he first was picked, his changeup is legitimately good. That is a weapon, a major league weapon pitch. It's just if you don't have a fastball to pair with it, and it doesn't matter. And in this game, he did enough to make it look really sharp, and it was really effective. Kenta Maeda, 4 1/3, 2 runs, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. I was actually really impressed with Kenta Maeda in this game too. No earned runs, like I said. The home run he gave up, that was one of the worst pitches I've ever seen. I don't want to get that twisted. Like, I'm not kidding. That was, I always say, this is a deep cut if you've been following me or the show for a long time. Hobie Milner on opening day in 2020 in the COVID season to Matt Olson, walk-off grand slam on opening day. Go look up that pitch. That is forever the worst pitch I've ever seen on a major league field. This is like bottom 10, maybe bottom 5. That was a sweeper that did not sweep and was middle to Mickey Moniak, who had a little bit of a career resurgence last year. Former number 1 overall pick, hasn't really turned out. But can't hit lefties and is very limited in playing time and whatnot. Crushes a baseball in Comerica, hits about 405, 410 feet. Outside of that, Maeda was, I thought, really sharp. And the command is still, wavers and comes and goes and whatnot. But I thought all of the other stuff he was offering was really good. I thought the splitter had a lot of movement. The slider was great. The fastball got up to 93 at one point, up in the zone. I've said it a lot. When Maeda can pitch up in the zone with his fastball and get swings and misses, he's a completely different pitcher. And when he was throwing 89, he wasn't able to do that. 93, still not blow it by you. But when paired with his splitter that moves so much, it's a lot more effective. And we saw that in this ball game. He was also just barely not missing bats. In his first inning of work, he gave up 2 hits. One was a slow grounder up the middle. The other one was a blooper that just didn't make it out into the outfield on a pitch way out of the strike zone. He was millimeters away from, he had 5 strikeouts in this game. He was millimeters away from probably 7 and was an error away from not giving up any runs, period. So I actually was very impressed with him. Not efficient. He's never efficient. He always throws a ton of pitches. I don't care. Go out there, give me 4 or 5 innings of 2 or fewer run ball, and I'm going to be a pretty happy camper. And that's what we saw. Beau Brieske, 1 2/3, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Ended the outing by pumping 98 low and away, and then 99 cheddar, top of the zone to get a swing and miss and get out of the inning. Absolutely beautiful, right? If he can consistently do that, I know I complain all the time about the fact that he doesn't have a slider that's major league ready, in my opinion. If he's pumping 98, 99 with how good his changeup is, it is his best pitch. I don't care if he throws the fastball 100. His changeup is that good. That's something you can work with. And he was juiced up, baby. 98, 99 to end almost a 2-inning outing. And then Jason Foley, 1 inning of perfect ball, 2 strikeouts to close the door. I complain all the time as well about how Foley hasn't been getting a lot of strikeouts this year. The thing that almost brought a tear to my eye from Foley in this outing was he threw a 4-seam fastball, right? The sinker doesn't get swings and misses when it's thrown at 95 to 96 for Foley. In April, when he was throwing his sinker 99 and 101, it was getting swings and misses. When it's 95, it doesn't. The 4-seam fastball that went 98 miles an hour on the black outside to a lefty did get a swing and a miss, and it should. And I think that should be his mindset, right? You need a ground ball, stick with the sinker. It's an elite pitch, legitimately one of the best pitches in baseball is the Jason Foley sinker, has been for 2 years. If you need a swing and miss, don't be afraid to throw the 4-seamer, baby. Don't be afraid to do it. I think it's a much better swing and miss pitch for him, especially if it's 98 miles an hour. What went wrong in this game? Far from a perfect ball game. Very far from it. The Ryan Kreidler steal was ridiculous to me. I don't know what was happening there. He got the pitcher to have 2 disengagements, so he, in theory, could have taken a bigger lead and was still not even close. I thought he actually got a decent jump, too. You pull Kerry Carpenter in a 1-run game for Kreidler to go out there. I guess you better be sending him or hit in running him at least. He goes out there. I don't know. He was out by a mile. I don't know. I don't need to see Ryan Kreidler steal ever again. I don't need to see. I don't know. I don't think Ryan Kreidler's long for this roster anyway. here as we head into September. But I was just blown away by how brutal that stolen base attempt was. A lot of what went wrong was like individual moments, right? As a team, again, you still got out of there with a win. There was just a lot of small individual moments in this game that drove me up a wall. That was one of them. Excuse me. The Trey Sweeney error, brutal, right? I mean, that cost you 2 runs. You're winning this game 3-0. And I'm still complaining about how they could have scored more, but it's not much of a nail biter in the 9th inning. If Sweeney doesn't make that throwing error, he does. It leads to the home run. It's a much closer game. You got to use Foley. You got to use your closer 2 days in a row. Certainly not ideal. But again, they walk out of there with the win. Not going to complain too much. Spencer Torkelson sung his praises earlier. Not trying to like pick on him. Again, listing a lot of people, but that throw to second base was awful. I don't know. There was one play in the game where he very much could have stepped on first, thrown to second, got a double play. Did it, and it just bothered the heck out of me because you're leaving it out there in a close game against a bad team, and you need to win ball games. This was not a good defensive performance whatsoever by this baseball team, whatsoever. But and against a better team than the Angels, I think it probably bites you. And you're playing some better teams than the Angels coming up here. The Red Sox series this weekend, we'll talk about that later, is massive, right? You got to tighten that up. That's 2 games in a row where defense was pretty ugly by this team, and that's going to bite you eventually. So let's clean it up while we're still winning games so that we can go into games against better teams and not have that happen. Colt Keith was brutal in the batter's box. The only hitter that I was like, wow, he looks actually completely lost at the plate in this ball game. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, a 3-pitch strikeout to start off. I don't know. Like he took a nap during the rain delay and wasn't ready for the game. Like, I don't know what happened. The light was reflecting weird in center field for where he stands in the box compared to everybody else. I don't know what happened, but that was, he looked completely lost. That's I think, I don't think he's looked like that in the batter's box since April. So hopefully it's just a 1-game thing, bounce back. And then we're going to end with Riley Greene here. Not a bad game, right? Played good defense, got a hit, whatever. The at-bat he had with the bases loaded was infuriating. And it was infuriating for him, too. He almost got yelled at by the umpire for throwing his equipment so hard that it bounced around and almost hit Blue there behind home plate. But he has bases loaded, 2 outs in a close game, fouls off a fastball over the heart of the plate, fouls off another fastball more over the heart of the plate. That should be very drivable for someone of his caliber. Works the count a little bit, then gets a hanging, I don't even know, meatball, really. Change up slide. I don't even know what that pitch was. It was terrible. Over the heart of the plate and doesn't even swing at it. Just completely fooled, knees buckled, doesn't even offer at it. He's hitting leadoff. He's your best player. You got to come through and at least put the ball in play or have a better AB than the one that he provided. His at-bats with runners in scoring position has been something we've been talking about a lot since he was a rookie, and it's been something that we've seen him take strides in the right direction in. Clearly, again, just in this ballgame, that 1 AB really stuck out to me. Okay, let's talk stuff. We're going to talk a little bit of managerial stuff. We'll talk AJ Hinch for a second. We'll talk Casey Mize, and then we'll talk about the playoffs. We'll do that right after this. Got to tell today about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on all the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now also win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Also, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. So many fun stats to look at over at Prize Picks. Starting pitching strikeouts, we talk about all the time, but you want to talk about home runs, right? Aaron Judge, that's something that's up there pretty much every Yankees game at this point, and he's hitting it quite often, having a monumental and another historic season for Judge. But there's a lot of players, and with football season back, it's time, baby. Download Prize Picks today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment, Locked On Tigers. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in. So, stuff. I found it frustrating that Andy Ibanez did not pinch hit for Zach McKinstry when a lefty was on the mound late in the game. And Andy Ibanez pinch hit then for Trey Sweeney with a lefty on the mound in the very next inning. He still got in the ball game, still got in. I don't need to see Zach McKinstry take an at-bat against a left-handed pitcher literally ever again. I'm okay, right? And McKinstry grounded into a double play. You had a man on and one out, and you left him out there. And with a runner on base in less than 2 outs, left your lefty killer on the bench and threw Zach McKinstry out there. I thought it was a big blunder by AJ Hinch. Now, crazy transition here. I know, after just criticizing him, you got to buckle up, okay? Because we're on a roller coaster today. I'm going to give AJ Hinch a ton of credit for how the last few weeks have gone. I read my own comments. I see plenty of people that talk about AJ Hinch, and there seems to be pretty divided. Like there are people that are huge AJ Hinch truthers. There are people that are big AJ Hinch deniers. There are people that will never forgive AJ Hinch for the Houston thing, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of people in a lot of different camps there. But when you look at the roster, the pitching situation, and the age of the lineup, and you look at how many games this team has won and how good this ball club has been in the month of August, you have no choice but to give a huge tip of the cap to the manager at the helm. He has put these guys in positions to win. And we talked about earlier in the season, right? In June, when everything was going wrong and we were being very critical of AJ Hinch, right? Funny how that works. And I had said on here, I remember saying, like, he's kind of just rearranging chairs on the Titanic, right? Like, it's just like there's no talent or nothing for him to do anything with on this roster. And he's playing matchups. It doesn't matter if you don't have the talent to get over the hump. And now that he's even given a sliver of talent, they've been winning a lot of ball games. Again, not against great teams over the last 6 games, but you have a series win against the Yankees and Mariners in that stretch as well. I just wanted to give him his flowers. I think that he deserves a lot of credit for how this has gone. Speaking of AJ, also hilarious press conference moment after or before rather this ball game. Was asked pretty directly, is Casey Mize going to start on Friday? And he said, I cannot tell you that he's going to be back on Friday because we legally can't take him off the roster until Friday. So I can't tell you about something that we can't legally do for 48 more hours. He said, that being said, we don't have a starter named for Friday, and he's eligible to come off the injured list on Friday. And then he winked. He literally, go watch the clip. It's hilarious. He literally winks in the newsroom to like all the reporters, and everybody busts out laughing. So I'm going to take that as Casey Mize is going to be your starter on Friday. One of the pitchers, maybe just Mason Englert, maybe Sean Gunther, we'll see, is going to get sent down. And you are going to have another starting pitcher that has spent a month rehabbing in the minors. So this is not a situation where Mize comes back and it's like, oh, we can only throw him 3 innings, right? He can go 5 or 6 off rip because he's been in Toledo pitching for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. And that's awesome. That is going to help this rotation a ton. And everybody has different opinions on Mize. I'm not saying he's going to come back and be like the 1-1 we were promised or anything like that. But he is going to give you solid innings. And that is what this team desperately needs right now out of the rotation. Reese Olson, not saying it's a guarantee, still an outsider's chance. He's back at some point as well through a bullpen earlier in the week. Let's all end this show by talking about the playoffs. Okay. I said yesterday I was taking this game by game. I still am. Okay. I still am. This team is less than 5 games back with a month left. Crazier things have happened, right? You get Mize back. Maybe you get Reese Olson back. I'm still taking it game by game, but I think I'll really shift my view on what I am hoping for out of this season, or what I am expecting for out of this season, when I see the result of this weekend against Boston, right? You play the Angels for a day game on Thursday. You turn around and you get the Red Sox at home. I don't know if you're familiar with the wild card standings, but the 3 wild cards as it stands right now are Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Minnesota Twins. The best team not in the wild card is the Boston Red Sox, 3 games back. The team after that is the Detroit Tigers. The 2 best non-wild card teams in the American League. It's a huge series. But no matter what happens in the series finale against the Angels game, no matter what happens in Boston or against Boston in Detroit this weekend, this is the most interesting, entertaining, compelling, and just flat out fun September that this team has had in probably 8 years. Let's have some fun. Again, I'm not proclaiming anything. I'm not saying I'm all in. I'm just I'm not trying to say that it's postseason or bust, right? 4.5 games is a lot in a month. And I know we just made up like 5 games in 8 days or something ridiculous. That's because the Twins are on like an L6 and the Tigers are on a W6 or something like that, right? 4.5 games in a month is a lot when you're talking about teams that are over 500 and are competing for a postseason spot. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. You are the hottest team in baseball. Literally. That is objective. You're 13-3 in your last 16 games. There is not a single team in the sport that has a better record than your Detroit Tigers over the last 16 games. That's over 2 weeks of sample. So why not the Detroit Tigers? Why not? Keep it rolling. The gritty Tigs. Shout out Cy Job, man. What a goat. Let's go for 7 straight. They play at 1:10 p.m. Eastern time. Cater Montero versus Jack Kakanowicz. He has an ERA over 6 in 5 starts. Let's make it 7. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping the series finale against the Angels and previewing you for what should be a very dramatic weekend at Comerica Park. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. The Detroit Tigers are 4.5 out of the wild card. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. What a time. What a time to be a Tigers fan. Like, I don't. Why is anyone pessimistic about this? Like, I just don't get how you can possibly be negative, be a fan of this team and possibly be negative about it. We've been bad for almost a decade. Let's have some fun, baby. Go Tigers.